Hair is a complex thing to deal with, but even more complex is the beard. More complex because the beard really tells the character of a man's face. In the case of a woman, I don't think we have to worry about beards, but men, when they sport a beard, that beard says something about their face. It really creates character. Zooming in on the image here, we'll see like right here, the Knoll brothers, one has a goatee, the other has a full beard. There's a little goatee there, another goatee there. Coming across this way, we see another goatee, two more right there, and then a full beard there. And we have some other full beards, like right there. Looking at a couple of the people in the scene, we'll look at their hair and see why it's so important. Like right here. This doesn't have as much detail because it's a smaller face. We're further back in the background, but you see that it's very important that all the different little movements of the hair, all the little angles that the hairs take are important in order to be able to get the right personality. Look at another person here, and we see that again, there are areas of white, areas of dark, all these different parts to the face that are crucial to get right in order to make it look like the right person. Now, you're going to get really complex, like this one right here. Now here we can see that this beard is all over the place because of the helmets, bending hairs and so on, but it has to capture the character of the person's face. So when we get in close and look at the face, and we see all these little hairs that are falling in different directions and coming around and so on and so forth, it is important that when you're creating this, that you're going to get those same little twists, the same little turns, and the same little colorizations to make it look right. If we were to look at this particular file, the original file for it, we'd see that there's a head, right? And when we look at the layers, we'll see that the beard right there, which is his own little group, is made up of many different layers. Now, let's get a little closer here and look at those individual layers, and you see how they start to make up the full beard. We'll go all the way down here to the base one, which is called the back beard. And you can see that it's just this little tones back there. If I turn it off, you see that it's just this little thing. Now, there is another set of beard, which is in back of the head here. That's this little loose hairs here. We're just going to look at the front part of the beard. And there we see that we have this back beard. And basically, it's just a tone that's going to kind of make it look like a solid beard. And we have some little beards that are behind the band again. There's some hairs back there. Then we have the neck band. There's the neck band. And then we have some loose hairs right on top of that. Then we have the blacks. There's a whole series of hairs that are just forming the black parts of the beard. And you can see that they're all in individual layers, making it easy to manipulate and control. Then we have the back grays. There you see a bunch of grays that just appeared. The browns, a bunch of little brown hairs every now and then. The main grays right there. The whites, which is the majority of the beard. And then the final, which is the top grays. A couple of little loose grays on top, which complete the whole beard. Now, to create the beard, it's not as complicated as it sounds, except for the part of getting the angles and shapes right. So let's go in here and see how the actual beard is created. So, basically all you need is a brush. Now, in the case of a beard, because of the closeness to the face that you're getting into there, you really want to work with a single brush. So you're basically going to create single strands of hair. Every individual hair is going to be painted in, which is why the base is so important, because you set up that base and that kind of eliminates the need for a lot of hair underneath. So you create a base for the beard, and it could be any color that you want it to be. Let's just say it's going to be a red beard. So what we're going to do is go in here and get kind of a brown tone like this, which will just fill into that base area. And I usually like to use a soft edge brush. That way it'll be easy to go in there and just blend out all these central areas. So I go in here and I'll just kind of fill this in. And let's give this a little more spacing here just to soften up that edge a little more. There we go. Now we have a softer edge. And we get this little beard going like this. And there's the chin area. And then we'll make it a little smaller, and we'll just make a little area here, which is going to be the mustache area. And that's basically it for the base of the hair. Might want to go a little bit up in here to the part where the sideburns would be, and so on. Now, the head hair would be a totally separate set of layers. But we're dealing with just the beard here. So now, on top of that, we're going to start to add the tonalities. So I'm going to go in here and create my light browns. All right, so I'll pick a much lighter version of that same brown somewhere in that area here. In fact, for the sake of the video, I'm going to go much lighter and go with a very light tone. And then here's where I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to bring the size all the way down. 1 pixel will be good because I'm working at 72 dpi here, so 1 pixel is as small as I can get. I'm going to bring the hardness all the way up to 100%, so I get a solid line like that. I'm going to go into my brush engine where I'm going to set up my spacing down to 1%, which is the tightest, so I get a nice solid line. And then I'm going to go into transfer modes where I'm going to set up pen pressure for both the flow and the opacity. Very much like I do for the head hair, because this is still hair. It's just the way it's going to be rendered is a little different. On top of this now, I'm going to start to create all my little tones. So I start to just draw in and I create all these little soft hairs that are just falling through here. And it really helps to look at a reference at this point. I'm just doing it blindly, but you need to see the actual person's face that you're painting here so that you can go in there and establish where these hairs are traveling and which direction they flow and so on. Now, if you're just making up a face, then you can just do this yourself like I'm doing here. I'm just going in there and just creating all these loose hairs that are just flying all through here. All these individual little hairs. And then over here, they're just going to kind of pop out here and just fall down a little shorter right here by the mustache. And I just start to fill this whole area in. You notice that the edges here, I start to go in there and just very loosely start to add all these little hairs right in here so that that base hair underneath starts to get kind of covered up. So it starts to just fill in and it looks like all these loose hairs. Now, on top of this, I'm going to just move forward now and just create one more. This is an older person, so you might have some highlights or white hairs, but I'm going to just say some highlights. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to get a very light version of this color. Let's go a little warmer here and very light version, about like that. And then I'm going to go in here and let's get a little closer here so we see what's going to start to happen here. I'm going to start to draw all these nice little highlights. Now, the highlights have to be very specific to your lighting in your scene. So you can't just throw highlights all over the place unless it's very heavily lit. But you start to throw in all these little highlights where you might see that the beard is kind of jumping up a little bit. I got a couple of little pieces there that got messed up. No problem. Just erase them out because we are in separate layers. There's the beauty of the separate layers is that we have full control over where these little hairs are going to fall. And I start to create all these little tones all through here to start getting all these little highlights start to happen all through there. And again, when I get these weird little things that might happen, I could just erase those. So as you start to continually draw on top of this, you start to build up the beard so that your end result can be something as complex as the one that we see here.